Vanessa, I love you, I really do. But you're a bit, not exemplary. To be honest, I think it would be better if you didn't come to the Christmas party this year. I never imagined my own parents would one day look me in the eye and tell me my children weren't welcome in their home. Yet there I was, standing in my kitchen, staring at my phone in disbelief. Christmas was just a few weeks away, and Eleanor's voice was unusually light as she spoke. "Honey, we need to talk about the Christmas party this year." My heart warmed for a moment. For all the tension that had existed between us over the years, I still longed for these family traditions. My kids, Zoe and Owen, adored their grandparents despite the distance that had formed. "Of course, Mom. What's the plan?" I asked, already picturing the way their house would be filled with the smell of pine, cinnamon, and the warmth of a family gathering. There was a brief pause, just long enough to send a chill down my spine. "Well," Eleanor continued, clearing her throat, "this year we're doing things a little differently. It's going to be tailored to the twins' needs. You know, something more educational." I frowned. "Oh, are you accommodating the children?" Another pause, then more hesitantly, "Well, no, not exactly." A cold knot twisted in my stomach. "What do you mean?" Eleanor let out a sigh, as if she were the one being put in an uncomfortable position. "How about we spend Christmas separately this year? Because you're not a role model adult, your children too." I gripped the edge of the counter. "So just us? What about Ethan and his family?" Ethan, my older brother. The golden child. The one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes, even when he did. Eleanor hesitated, and that's when I knew. "Ethan and Audrey are coming with the twins," she admitted. "But you know how well-behaved Jackson and Jordan are, Vanessa. They're just quieter, more refined. It's easier to have them at the table." A wave of heat flushed through me. I felt like I had been slapped, like the floor had suddenly been pulled out from under me. "They're just children," I said, my voice tight. "Zoe is 7 and Owen is 4. Of course they have energy, but they're sweet and they love you." "We're just trying to have a meaningful Christmas," Eleanor replied, her tone clipped now, irritated that I wasn't just accepting this. "It's not personal, Vanessa." "Not personal?" I clenched my jaw, swallowing back the sharp words fighting to spill out. It wasn't just about Christmas. It was the way they had always treated my children like an afterthought while putting Ethan's twins on a pedestal. The way they showed up at their piano recitals but never came to Zoe's dance performance. The way Christmas gifts were always just a little more expensive for Ethan's kids. And now they weren't even hiding it. "I can't believe this," I whispered, my heart aching with betrayal. "You're actually telling me that my kids aren't welcome, but Ethan's are?" "Oh, Vanessa, don't be dramatic," Eleanor sighed. "It's just one party. Let's meet on another occasion." I almost laughed at the absurdity. They wanted me there, but not the two little souls I loved most in this world. I swallowed hard. "No, Mom. If I'm not welcome at this party, I won't be seeing you again." A long silence stretched between us. Then Eleanor exhaled sharply, as if I were the one being unreasonable. "Suit yourself." And just like that, she hung up. I stood there staring at the phone, my breath unsteady. I could hear my kids in the next room, giggling as they built a pillow fort, completely unaware that their grandparents, the ones they adored, had just cast them aside like they were somehow defective. I took a deep breath, my stomach churning with anger. I'd spent my whole life trying to please my parents, desperately seeking their approval. But at what cost? And if I let them get away with this, if I continue my relationship with them, what kind of mother would I be? No, I wasn't doing this anymore. They had made their choice. Now it was time for me to make mine. And they would regret it sooner than they thought. The weight of Eleanor's words lingered long after the call ended. I stood in my kitchen, the quiet hum of the refrigerator filling the silence, my phone still clutched in my hand. My fingers trembled as I set it down, my heart pounding with a mixture of anger and sadness. I had always known my parents favored Ethan, but I had convinced myself that it wasn't as bad as it seemed, that deep down they loved all of us equally. But tonight they had ripped away any illusion of fairness. They didn't even try to hide it anymore. They loved his children more. A sudden laugh, pure, carefree, echoed from the living room. I turned to see Zoe and Owen still playing in their pillow fort, completely unaware of the rejection that had just taken place. My chest tightened. They deserved better. I squared my shoulders and walked into the living room, forcing a smile. "All right, you two," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Who's ready for movie night?" Owen immediately perked up, his eyes shining with excitement. "Can we watch the one with the talking dog?" I scooped him up into my arms, kissing his soft curls, feeling his warm little body against mine. "Of course we can, buddy." But as we curled up on the couch, the anger inside me refused to settle. I had spent years trying to fit into my parents' world, playing by their rules, hoping that if I just did everything right, they would finally see me as equal to Ethan. But it had never been enough, and I was done trying. The next morning, I woke up to a text from my brother Ethan. "Mom said you're ruining Christmas. Why do you always have to make everything so dramatic?" I stared at the screen, my jaw tightening, feeling my pulse quicken. Of course, she had already run to him. "Oh, she uninvited us but said your twins are invited?" The typing bubbles appeared, then stopped. A minute passed before he finally responded. "She just wants an educational environment, Vanessa. You know how your kids aren't exactly role models." Role models? Like my children were somehow deficient? Like they were something to be fixed, not celebrated. Something inside me snapped. "Enjoy your perfect Christmas, Ethan. I won't be there." I turned off my phone before he could respond. They didn't want me or my children at their table? Fine. I wouldn't be part of their world at all. And they were about to find out what that really meant. For years, I had been the reliable one, the one who always helped when they needed something. When my parents needed someone to pick up their groceries, they called me. When their Wi-Fi stopped working, I was the one who drove over to fix it. When they wanted help organizing a family party, I was the one stuck making calls and running errands. And Ethan? He got to be the golden child, doing the bare minimum while reaping all the rewards. But if I wasn't part of their preferred family, then they weren't going to benefit from me anymore. A week before Christmas, Eleanor called again. I debated ignoring it, but finally answered, my heart racing as I pressed the phone to my ear. "Hello, Vanessa," she said, her tone cautious. "I just wanted to check in. I know you were upset, but I really hope you'll reconsider. We would love to have you and Nathan there. We want to continue our relationship with you." I took a deep breath, feeling the anger bubble up inside me. I meant what I said. Mom.if I'm not welcome at Christmas, I won't be welcome in the future either. She sighed heavily, as if I were exhausting her. I just don't understand why you're being so stubborn. It's just one party. You know how much the twins mean to us. And there it was. The final, painful confirmation that my children, the two little humans I loved more than anything, would never be enough for her. I clenched my jaw. You've made it clear where we stand, Mom. I won't bother you again. Vanessa, don't be like this. I ended the call before she could finish. And this time I didn't cry. I started small. When Walter called me that weekend to help him set up his new TV, I let the call go to voicemail. When Eleanor sent a text asking if I could pick up her prescription, I left it unread. For years I had been at their beck and call, always available, always reliable. But not anymore. And it didn't take long for them to notice. By the time Christmas preparations were in full swing, I had missed a total of 12 calls and ignored 6 texts. Then, one morning during Christmas week, I got a message from Ethan. Mom and Dad are really upset that you're ignoring them. Are you seriously going to let this go this far? They already went too far when they said we weren't welcome. This time, he didn't reply. I put my phone on silent and turned my attention to my real family. Zoe and Owen were at the table, helping Nathan string popcorn garlands. They were covered in glitter, laughing hysterically. This was our Christmas, and for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. But little did I know, my parents weren't done yet. And their next move would be something I'd never forgive. Christmas preparation day was peaceful in a way I hadn't experienced in years. No rushing to get the kids dressed in their formal clothes. No stress over making the perfect holiday dish. No anxious glances at the clock to make sure we weren't late. Instead, we were in our own little world, our home filled with laughter, the smell of gingerbread and hot chocolate hanging in the air. Zoe and Owen took turns hanging ornaments while Nathan lifted them up to reach the higher branches, making them squeal with delight every time he pretended to wobble. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. The phone rang at that moment. A usage confirmation email from the credit card company. When I opened it casually, I saw a large amount that I didn't recognize. I hadn't been checking my credit card statements every month. I discovered that the payment amount had increased by about $150 each month for several months. Last month was $500 more, which made me suspicious, so I investigated. I found that a massage chair recently purchased for my parents' home had been bought using my credit card. A slow, cold realization crawled up my spine. This was because I had temporarily allowed my parents to use this credit card. 6 months ago, when Walter retired and they were short on money during the transition period, I temporarily added them as authorized users on my account just to help them get through a difficult time. I had intended to remove them once their situation stabilized, but life got busy and I had forgotten. I called my mother to confirm. "Can you explain about my credit card?" Eleanor scoffed. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Vanessa. It's just a card. You earn a good salary, and we thought, what did you think?" My voice was now trembling, and my face was burning with anger. "Were you just planning to keep using my money? Did you think I wouldn't notice?" "Oh, don't act like this is some big betrayal. We raised you. The least you can do is support us in our retirement." I took a sharp breath, feeling as if I'd been punched. Seriously? Even after saying we weren't good enough to come for Christmas, You expected me to keep paying for your groceries? Do you hear yourself?" Eleanor let out a long, dramatic sigh. "You know, Vanessa, this is exactly why we don't like having difficult conversations with you. You always overreact." "Overreact?" I was done. "You're right about one thing," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "I did cancel the card, and since we're having an honest conversation now, let me make one thing very clear. You will never see another cent from me. Ever." Eleanor gasped, as if I had slapped her. "Vanessa, don't be ridiculous." I interrupted her. "And since we're talking now, don't expect Christmas presents, birthday presents, or anything else. You made your choice when you said my children weren't welcome, and now I'm making mine." Silence. Then, in a voice colder than I'd ever heard from her, she said, "You'll regret this." And she hung up. For a moment, I just stood there, gripping the phone so tightly my fingers ached. Then, slowly, I turned back toward the living room. Nathan was watching me carefully. "Everything okay?" I forced a small smile. "Yeah," I said, voice steadier than I felt. "Just taking out the trash." He didn't ask any more questions. We spent the rest of the day in our own Christmas preparations, decorating cookies, making paper snowflakes, singing carols, and for the first time in years, there was no underlying stress, no need to walk on eggshells, no pressure to be someone I wasn't. But as peaceful as it was, something told me this wasn't over. And I was right, because my parents weren't just going to let their golden source of money walk away. I also decided to stop the payments on the Toyota car loan that I had given my parents as a retirement gift, along with my brother. And their next move would prove exactly what kind of people they really were. The silence from my parents didn't last long. 3 days after our confrontation, my phone lit up with an incoming call. Ethan. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity got the best of me. I exhaled sharply and answered, my heart pounding. "What do you want?" "What the hell, Vanessa?" he snapped, skipping any pleasantries. "Mom just called me in tears, saying you cut them off. What is wrong with you?" I closed my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. "Did she also tell you that they've been using my credit card for months without my knowledge?" A pause. "Well, she said you were helping them with their retirement." "Helping them?" I let out a humorless laugh, my voice shaking with anger. "Ethan, they've racked up thousands of dollars on my account without asking, while treating my kids like they're somehow defective. But sure, let's act like I'm the bad guy here." He sighed, clearly trying to control his frustration. "Look, I get that you're mad, but cutting them off completely? That's extreme." "Are you referring to the way they completely excluded us from Christmas?" I shot back, feeling heat rise to my cheeks. "They just wanted an educational environment. Mom said your kids aren't exactly role models." My grip on the phone tightened until my knuckles turned white. "Oh, I see. So they can use my money, but my kids aren't good enough for their precious table? Got it." He groaned. "You're twisting this." "No, Ethan. I'm finally seeing it for what it is." There was a long pause. Then his voice turned calculating. "Look, maybe we can work something out. What if you just kept helping them with smaller contributions, like for the twins' education fund? That way no one has to suffer over a misunderstanding." A cold laugh bubbled up in my throat. "Let me get this straight. You want me to keep sending them money after they literally told me they love your kids more than mine?" They didn't mean it like that, he grumbled. They said it, Ethan. He had no response for that. After a moment, his voice turned stiff. Fine. If you want to be selfish, that's on you. But don't expect Mom and Dad to forgive you anytime soon. I smirked, shaking my head. I'll survive. Then, before he could argue, I hung up. For the next few weeks, my parents played the silent treatment game. No calls, no texts. I figured they were hoping I'd cave, come crawling back begging for their approval like I always had. But what they didn't realize was that for the first time in my life, I didn't need it anymore. And just when I thought they'd finally given up, they pulled one last desperate stunt. It was the week before Christmas when the letter arrived. Nathan found it in the mailbox, his brow furrowing as he read the sender's name. It's from your parents. I stiffened, my stomach instantly knotting. Oh, great. Let me guess, guilt, manipulation, or straight-up gaslighting. He smirked. Why don't we find out? I took the envelope, my hands trembling slightly as I tore it open. Inside was a formal legal document. My breath caught as I read the words. They were demanding reimbursement for years of emotional and financial support and educational investment. I let out a disbelieving laugh. You've got to be kidding me. Nathan took the letter, scanning it quickly. They're saying you owe them for raising you and for all the financial sacrifices they made for your well-being and education. He looked up, jaw tightening. Are they actually trying to bill you for your own childhood? Apparently they were. They had even included itemized cost things like food, clothes, school supplies, college tuition, and medical expenses from when I was a child. And at the bottom of the page, a final sum, $78,542. I blinked, feeling like I'd been slapped. They seriously think I'm going to give them nearly 80 grand? Nathan scoffed. They must be desperate. I exhaled slowly, anger burning through me like wildfire. This wasn't about money. This was control, a final, desperate attempt to pull me back into their grip. I looked at Nathan, my mind already made up. I think it's time I pay them a little visit. The next day, I drove to my parents' house, gripping the letter in my hands. I knocked, and when Eleanor opened the door, her face immediately hardened. Oh, so now you show up. I didn't rise to the bait. I held up the letter. You seriously thought this would work? She folded her arms. It's what's fair. I let out a sharp laugh. Fair? You want to charge me for being your child while expecting free money from me for the rest of your lives? Walter appeared in the doorway, his expression smug. We sacrificed a lot for you, Vanessa, and now you're abandoning us. I stared at them, shaking my head. No, Dad. You abandoned me when you made it clear that my kids weren't good enough. When you lied and stole from me. When you put a price tag on my worth. Eleanor's lips pressed into a thin line. If you don't want to pay, then I guess we'll have to involve lawyers. I met her gaze, unfazed, my heart pounding with newfound confidence. Go ahead. She blinked. What? I crossed my arms. Take me to court. Try to explain to a judge why you're suing your own daughter for expenses from 20 years ago. See how that goes. Silence. For the first time, they looked unsure. Walter cleared his throat. We just thought you'd want to make things right. I laughed. Oh, I am making things right. Right now. I ripped the letter in half, watching their eyes widen in shock. I am done being your personal ATM. Eleanor gasped. You ungrateful little. I turned on my heel. Merry Christmas, I called over my shoulder, striding back to my car. And for the first time in my life, I felt lighter. As I drove away, I realized something. They weren't upset about the money. They were upset because, for the first time ever, I had all the power. And I wasn't giving it back. I thought that after ripping up their ridiculous demand for money, my parents would finally back off, that maybe, just maybe, they would sit in the wreckage of their own arrogance and realize that they had pushed me too far. But people like them, they don't change. They just escalate. It started small. A text from Eleanor 2 days before Christmas. Vanessa, this is ridiculous. We're family. You don't turn your back on family over a silly argument. I ignored it, feeling a strange mix of sadness and resolve. The next day, another message. We forgive you. Come to Christmas dinner and we'll forget this ever happened. I almost laughed. They forgive me? Then, a few hours later, one from Ethan. They're really hurting, Vanessa. Just apologize so we can move on. I rolled my eyes. Of course, in his world, I was the one who had done something wrong. I typed out a response, my fingers flying across the screen. Funny. They weren't hurting when they were stealing from me, or when they told me my kids weren't welcome. I think they'll survive. I hit send and blocked his number. Then Christmas Eve arrived. Nathan and I had just put the finishing touches on the tree, and Zoe and Owen were in their pajamas, dancing around the living room, too excited to sleep. It was perfect. And then the doorbell rang. Nathan and I exchanged a look. No way, he muttered. I walked to the door and peered through the peephole. Sure enough, Eleanor and Walter. I considered ignoring them, but then I spotted what they were holding, a giant, beautifully wrapped box. I sighed and opened the door. What do you want? Eleanor's face lit up with forced cheerfulness. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Walter held out the gift. For the kids, educational toys. I folded my arms. No thanks. Eleanor's smile wavered. Vanessa, don't be stubborn. Let's not ruin Christmas over this. You already ruined Christmas, I shot back, my voice trembling with anger, when you told me my children weren't good enough for your table. Remember that? Her mouth opened, then closed. Walter sighed. Come on, Vanessa. Let's just be a family again. I stared at them, feeling nothing but exhaustion. You don't want to be a family, I said quietly. You want me to go back to being useful. Their silence told me everything I needed to know. I shook my head. Take your gift and go. Eleanor's expression hardened. Vanessa, don't be selfish. Think about the children. I smiled coldly. I am thinking about the children. That's exactly why you're not in their lives anymore. Walter's jaw tightened. You really want to do this? I exhaled. I already did. And with that, I shut the door in their faces, my heart racing but my resolve stronger than ever. That night, we had the best Christmas ever. Zoe and Owen tore into their presents, their laughter echoing through the house. We drank hot cocoa, played board games, and watched Christmas movies until they fell asleep on the couch. And for the first time in my life, Christmas wasn't about trying to prove myself. It was about us, real family, chosen family. The kind that doesn't come with conditions. The kind that doesn't make you earn love. The kind that loves you because they want to, not because they expect something in return. I thought that was the end of it, that after being cut off financially, humiliated at Christmas, and rejected at my front door, my parents would finally accept that I was done. But I underestimated just how much control they thought they still had over me. Because New Year's Eve, they did something I never saw coming. New Year's Eve was supposed to be a fresh start, a night to leave the past behind and step into a better future. That's what I told myself as I set up the snack table, laughter and music filling our home. Zoe and Owen were buzzing with excitement, running around in their little party hats, counting down the hours until midnight. Nathan was pouring champagne for us, a soft smile on his face. It was our night, our celebration. And then the knock. I froze, my stomach dropping. Nathan glanced at me. "You think?" I already knew. I walked to the door, took a deep breath, and opened it. And there they were. Eleanor, Walter, Ethan, and Ethan's wife, Audrey. It was an ambush. I crossed my arms. "What do you want?" Eleanor smiled, but it was the same forced, sugary tone she always used when she wanted something. "We just want to talk." "No thanks," I said flatly, feeling my heart hammering against my ribs. Walter sighed. "Vanessa, enough. You've made your point. Now let's fix this before things go too far." I narrowed my eyes. Too far? What does that even mean? Eleanor exchanged a look with Ethan. "We just don't want this to affect the children's development." Something about her tone made my skin crawl. "What are you talking about?" Ethan stepped forward, arms crossed over his chest like he was the one who had been wronged. "Mom and Dad have been talking to a lawyer." A cold wave of dread rolled through me. "A lawyer?" I repeated slowly. Eleanor nodded, her eyes gleaming with false sympathy. "We're just worried, Vanessa. You've cut your children off from their real family over a silly misunderstanding. That's not fair to their educational development." I felt my pulse pound in my throat. "What are you trying to say?" Walter cleared his throat. "We've been looking into grandparents' rights." For a moment, all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. Then I laughed. It wasn't a small chuckle. It was loud, unhinged, and sharp. They thought they could legally force their way back into my life? Into my kids' lives? Ethan's face twisted. "What's so funny?" I wiped my eyes. "Oh, you're serious? You think any judge is going to look at this situation and side with you?" Eleanor's lips pressed together. "We've done nothing wrong." "Nothing wrong?" I repeated, stepping forward, feeling fire in my veins. "You stole from me. You treated my kids like they were defective. And now, because I finally cut you off, you think you can bully your way back in?" Walter's face darkened. "You don't want to do this, Vanessa." I met his glare with a smile. "Oh, but I do." I pulled out my phone and held it up. "I want you to think real carefully about what you're about to do," I said, voice cold. "Because I've got every text, every voicemail, every demand for money. And I promise you, if you try this, I will bury you." Audrey gasped. "Vanessa, come on." "No," I snapped, eyes locked on my parents. "I'm filing a civil lawsuit about your fraudulent use of my credit card. I'll demand compensation. And a restraining order against you for my family, too." a beat of silence. Then Eleanor's face twisted in anger. "You're being unreasonable." I smiled. "No, Mom. I'm finally being smart." I stepped back into my house and grabbed the door. "Happy New Year," I said sweetly. Then I slammed the door in their faces. The phone rang just after I had sent my children off to school. Another year had passed. Thanks to the court restraining order, my parents and I remained physically distanced, but my life was filled with quiet peace. An unfamiliar number showed on my cell phone screen. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. "Hello." "Vanessa?" It was Ethan's voice, not in his usual condescending tone, but sounding tired and weak. "Do you have time to talk?" "How did you get my number?" I asked. "The restraining order applies to you too." "This is a friend's phone," he explained. "I don't intend to violate the order. I just wanted to talk." I sighed. "What do you want, Ethan?" "I thought I should let you know." His voice was trembling. "We've lost everything." "What are you talking about?" "The house. The car too. Everything." He lowered his voice. "Because of your lawsuit." "I merely filed a lawsuit," I retorted, "for your fraudulent use of my card. The consequences are your own doing." He let out a bitter laugh. "The prosecutors charged us with a felony. Credit card fraud. The sentence was harsh." I was silent. I hadn't filed criminal charges, but the evidence from my civil lawsuit must have developed into a criminal case. "How much?" I finally asked. "Over $250,000 in fines and restitution," Ethan answered. "Mom and Dad's house was foreclosed. Now, they're living in a cheap apartment. I'm in a similar place too." "What about Audrey and the twins?" His voice grew even weaker. "Audrey took the twins and went back to her parents' house. We're in the process of divorcing. She won't let me see the twins." "Because you now have a criminal record, I suppose," I guessed. "Yeah," he said resignedly. "Lost my job too. Now I'm working as a night security guard, but still can't keep up with the restitution payments." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Do you want my sympathy? You created this situation yourselves." "I know," he agreed. I was surprised by the unexpected response. "How are our parents? Do they still acknowledge what they did?" After a moment of silence, he answered, "They're suffering. Mom is sleeping on a friend's sofa. Most of their pension goes to paying restitution. Dad is working part-time as a security guard, but at his age, it's difficult." He said pleadingly, "Please, can't you do something?" But I firmly refused. After hanging up, I stared out the window. I had hated them for a long time. But now, knowing everything they had lost, my anger softened a little. They were facing the consequences of their choices. And I would live with my choices, the choice to put myself and my children first. And for the first time in my life, it felt like freedom. The weight of their expectations gone. The pressure to please them gone. The endless cycle of guilt and manipulation gone. Months later, on a sunny spring afternoon, I was sitting on the porch watching Zoe and Owen chase bubbles in the yard. Nathan handed me a lemonade and sat beside me. "It's been quiet," he said. I nodded. "Yeah, feels good." He smirked. "Do you care about them?" I sipped my drink, watching my kids giggle as they popped the bubbles, their faces lit with pure joy, their laughter carried by the spring breeze. "Doesn't matter. I said. Because I had already won. I had my kids, my real family. And I'd never let anyone make them feel unwanted again.